Welcome to the Stygian Stilettos Gamer channel. This is Stygian Sis. Please like, share, and subscribe, and find me at twitter.com/StygianSis. Hey, Final Fantasy fam, this is your girl Stygian Stilettos Gamer, aka Stygian Sis. I have a special guest with us today, TifaTheMonk. You may know her from Twitter. Quite popular. Say hi, Monk.
Hey everybody, TifaTheMonk, and I am very excited to be here with my good friend Stygian, and we're gonna discuss some LTD stuff.
Yes,
Just as a forewarning, this podcast is gonna get a little spicy. It might get so if you have a weak constitution or that's not your cup of tea, might not be the podcast for you. But if you are interested in the topic, then stick around because it's gonna get interesting.
Yes, we are. We are in the business of myth busting around here. So, as you can see, the title is LTD Mythbusters. And I've been in this fandom for a year, and I have to say, I don't know what you would call them. I wouldn't call them theories. Some of the ideas thrown around about this LTD. Insane is the word that comes to mind, but yeah, we've got to address some of this stuff because it seems like every couple of months the same topics keep getting brought up over and over again. We have to keep repeating ourselves, so we just kind of want to have one place where we can break up some of these misconceptions at best, lies at worst. And then we don't have to keep revisiting these topics. This has been over and done with for a long time. So,
we might get the question of why do you feel the need to debunk claims like this? Why can't you just let people believe what they want to believe? Well, here's the thing: misconceptions about the story tend to bug people who are fans of a certain story. I myself personally deeply enjoy the story of FF7. I'm a fan, and that's part of what being a fan is that you enjoy the content of something. So when you see misconceptions about characters and about scenarios and relationships in the game getting pushed around, then on a certain level it kind of bugs you. Yes. And the bigger problem here is that, thanks to Remake, there are quite a few new fans who are entering the FF7 fandom for the first time, and a lot of them don't have the background information that some of us older veteran fans have. And so, unfortunately, they're very easily, they fall for a lot of these misconceptions, or they're more easily convinced of a lot of these false stories. So, as a fan, it's kind of an innate desire of mine as a fan to correct the record.
Yes, I agree.
And at least put the correct information out there so it's available for new fans, so that way they have a deeper understanding of the story, the lore, the characters, and the different relationships that this story has to offer.
Yes,
and so this misconception about Aerith in the park, new fans don't really understand who Aerith's first love is because he hasn't been introduced yet.
Yes.
Those of us who do have a background story know exactly who she's talking about. And it is said that she is talking about her first love. Now, who is her first love? Her first love is Zack Fair.
Yes, I agree. And I want to also do a bit of preferencing before we get into our first topic. Because people will, I'm sure, accuse us of thinking we're smarter than everybody. I hear that all the time. I have to say, as somebody who's been a fan of this game for 20 years, when I first entered the Twitter fandom, I had a lot of information thrown at me, including stuff out of non-canon content from the Final Fantasy VII universe. And it confused me, and I know the story. I played the game when it came out. I've watched Stabbing Children. I have the books. I've done some, just because I'm a nerd, I've done some research on my own, on different sites and things like that. And some of this stuff that I was seeing on Twitter was confusing me. So if it'll confuse me, somebody who's been a fan of this game for 20 years is certainly going to confuse new people coming into the fandom who don't realize that there is a small but very ill-motivated segment of the fandom. And I'm specifically talking about what we refer to as the Doki Doki Cult. Not Cleriths, not shippers, I'm not saying about everybody. I want to be very clear who I'm talking about. Is a very small segment of extremists in this fandom who do not have any problem lying and manipulating to get what they want, which is they want to, I don't know what it is, get more people on their side, thinking maybe SC will change the story if they get people to believe the crazy stuff they come up with. I don't know what their motivation is, but that is why I think it's important for non-crazy fans to push back on the stuff that they say, because it's not, a lot of this is not misconceptions on their part. I get that newer people or people who are not as immersed in the story as we are may confuse certain things, but when people are out there just outright lying to people, that's what bothers me, and that's what pisses me off personally. So we're gonna reintroduce.
Yeah. And to add to that, don't get on too long.
Oh, you're fine.
I also think that there is a certain level of maliciousness behind these, misconceptions and lies being pushed about the certain aspects of the story and certain characters, because I don't think it's a mystery that Tifa Lockhart is a very popular character, that Zack Fair is a very popular character, and unfortunately, there's a certain aspect of the fandom where these two characters in particular offer a sort of block to a certain pairing that I think we all know which pairing I'm talking about. Narratively gets in the way of their ship, and they don't like the fact that Tifa Lockhart and Zack Fair are popular characters, and I think that's a large motivation behind a lot of these misconceptions and lies being pushed out on the daily. This is not even just by a month-by-month basis. This is turning into a daily thing. And unfortunately, it does have an effect. If somebody comes into the fandom who doesn't have a lot of background knowledge, and I've encountered this myself, where I'll have a discussion with someone who, puts out a talking point or whatever, a clear, easily debunked claim about either Tifa or Zack, and I correct the record, and I, show quotes, and or I'll show a clip from the game, and they'll act surprised, like they haven't. This is new information, and so this is another purpose of this series. It's going to be a series of podcasts on this subject to clear up those misconceptions and offer people a source of information. And you know what? I encourage people to fact check us on this. We have done our research. We're not just going to be out here throwing out claims. Everything that we claim as canon, we are going to offer, evidence to back up our claims. We're not just going to be up here spouting off stuff. And if we do get into headcanon territory, we will tell you where we are going into headcanon territory. Yes. But when it comes to straight facts from the game, we will offer that information up. And like I said, I encourage you to look up this information for yourself, and you'll see that we're telling the truth.
Yes, and what we're not going to do is play a whole lot of semantic games. Well, technically, we didn't see A, B, and C on camera, so it didn't happen. I've said this before. I feel like SE thinks that grown people should, who have experienced media, especially if you experienced American media, Japanese media, just basic storytelling, to be able to put two and two together without them having to lead us to a conclusion explicitly in every single thing. I mentioned this to Monk earlier. They say Claudia is Cloud's mother. We don't need her giving birth on camera to Cloud to believe that. That's just common sense. So while, there are some things where we have hard facts, and then there are going to be some areas where anybody would draw, anybody who is not extremely biased would draw the same conclusion. If you took Cloud and Tifa's name out of it, nobody would be confused as to what's going on. But because there's a bias around CloTi for a lot of people, suddenly everything's up to interpretation. I'm just not playing that game today. Not doing it.
So, Cloud, you were a soldier first class, right?
Yeah.
Weird.
Really? What's weird about it?
Nothing. Just that you were the same rank.
Huh? As who?
The first guy I ever loved.
What's his name? I probably know him.
Are you okay? Wow. Your eyes.
Oh. It's 'cause of the Mako. All soldiers have them.
Yeah, I know.
We're here to talk facts, and so let's get into it.
All right, so let's get to our first topic. Whew, I'm trying to temper the laughter.
I feel a little difficult with some of these topics, but hey, we got to do this.
And some of these things are just so outrageous. It's hard not to laugh. But okay, so in chapter 9, to set the premise, in chapter 9, Cloud and Aerith are trying to get back to, Cloud is trying to get to Sector 7. He's just fallen from Reactor 5. Everyone thinks he's probably dead. And he's been trying to get home to Tifa and the group the whole day, basically. But he's been helping out the people of Sector 5 and helping out Aerith, who's been chased down by the Turks. So that's the premise. So Aerith, he snuck out of Aerith's house, but she ended up following him and is helping him get to Sector 7. Now, right before they get to Sector 7, they're in a park in Sector 6. And she says, let's take a break. And this is considered sort of the date, quote unquote. I mean, that's how they refer to it, because she promised him a date earlier in the day if he helped her out. And so they take a break here. And during this, she starts asking about, so you're a first class soldier. And she says it's weird because you're the same rank. And Cloud says, what rank? And, or I'm sorry, same as who? And she says the first guy she ever loved. And then Cloud kind of relaxes and he's like, oh, cool. So like, what's his name? Maybe I know him. And there's a name that's uttered by Aerith, but you don't hear what she says. However, Cloud's reaction is pretty visceral. He starts having a headache again and kind of blanks out, which we know when this is happening, just based on OG and what we know from the game in dev interviews. When he starts having these headaches, it's Genova suppressing memories. So he hears a name that he doesn't, like Genova doesn't want him to, maybe I'm now this is a little headcanon, but I'm thinking that probably he recognizes the name, but Genova is actively suppressing his memories as he's remembering Zack's name. But there's been a working theory for the last week at least, and this has been recycled, that she actually said Cloud's name and not Zack's. So that's the premise. I'll have the video playing as we go along and all this. But Monk, what's your initial thoughts about this quote unquote theory that she said Cloud's name and not Zack's?
Well, my initial theory is that the individuals pushing this theory know full well that they are full of baloney, but I'll play devil's advocate for a second here and say, okay, so she did say Cloud's name. Why wouldn't Cloud have a meltdown any of the other times that she says Cloud's name? Because she says Cloud's name multiple times throughout her chapters that she's with him.
Mm-hmm.
So make it make sense. Why would Cloud freak out about his own name being uttered?
Yes, and
Number
I
two,
mm-hmm.
this is heavily based in another bogus theory that has yet to be even confirmed.
Exactly.
That this is some kind of time travel story, and this Cloud is time traveled from the past or something, and none of it makes any sense when we all know, and like you said, from the OG, because I would assume that we've all played the OG. So what is the theme of that entire park scene? It's Aerith reminiscing about Zack. That is what this whole scene is about.
Yes.
The entire scene is structured just like her first date with Zack. She's trying to relive those memories. She even leans in the same way, making the observation about his eyes, just like she did with Zack. She spends the entire time discussing, this is, talking about Zack and the fact that her first love was somebody who was in Soldier. And so that's what this whole scene is revolving around. It's about Zack, but you as the player are not supposed to know who Zack is yet. Those of us who have background knowledge of the game, we of course know who it is. But somebody who's just coming into this game blindly, this is all being revealed in a special way where you're led to believe how important this certain character is without actually knowing who it is. Because this is all leading up to a big reveal later on.
Yes, and, I think even somebody coming in completely blind, I would find it hard to believe that they would actually think she said Cloud's name in that moment. You can have no idea about any of this and know that she did not say Cloud's name. It makes absolutely no sense. They just met. There's no evidence that she's time traveling or that he's time traveling. They show you that Cloud's having visions. And if you know about Aerith being a Cetra in the live stream, none of this is confirmed. We're not going to get confirmation of this stuff until later. But it's more likely that she's having visions and speaking to the planet and getting certain information like Cloud did. But the point is, there's no evidence right now to suggest that she is from the future and she knows that she and Cloud fell in love at one point. But that doesn't even matter. The fact of the matter is, Crisis Core is canon. Crisis Core and OG, of course, both show that Aerith met Zack first, dated him. She knew him for 7 years before she ever laid eyes on Cloud. There's no reason to believe that she said Cloud's name in that moment. Even if you think she is from the future and fell in love with him and blah, 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 and this and that. Unless you're saying that Crisis Core is lying, OG is lying, where she says in Japanese and in English that Zack was her first love, unless you believe the Ultimanias are also lying. I mean, so if you believe all of them are lying and Cloud was really the only guy she ever loved, then I suppose you can believe this theory. But objectively, when the game and the books have told us exactly who her first love is, and she's speaking about her first love, who was a soldier, there is absolutely no logical reason to believe that she is saying Cloud's name in that moment. Just not. And I'm trying not to be as spicy with the language, but to me, there's only two conclusions I can draw when somebody says that she said Cloud's name. Like, you're either ignorant about it or willfully ignorant about it. I mean, I don't know what else it could be. You're either lying or, like something's not firing up there for you. If you know about this game and think she said Cloud's name. I just, go ahead.
Well, I think it's safe to say that we've officially incinerated that ridiculous little theory.
And yes, and throughout this, you'll be seeing our evidence on the screen. I'll have lots of things inside of the description on the video, so you don't have to believe us. In fact, I prefer you not to believe us. Go do your, for God's sakes, go do your own research. Don't believe me. Go look this stuff up. All the video is out there. We've taken screenshots of the Ultimanias, any raw screenshots we have, as well as translated. You can ask any of your moots what they say, who know how to translate. Do not believe us. But I can say with 100% certainty, Cloud's name did not come out of her mouth in that moment. It just didn't. Nonsense.
So I think we can say it's been busted.
All in a day's work. This is Stygian Stilettos Gamer, and I am # out of here, honey.